we're here.
You didn't have to look up my nose while that happened.
No, it was great. Oh, Katie Couric is here. Hey, girl. What's going on? I feel so self-conscious now. I'm like, oh, my God.
Now, and of course, again, my phone is. This is outrageous. I'm really sorry to everyone.
It's okay. We're going to get it figured out. And then people are just coming in the room. We can be messy. We'll cut this in post. Yeah, we're cutting this in post.
I'm going to be honest. Honestly, I haven't slept much. This has been a really intense. I've been trying to read Virginia's book too. Like I had to. All right, I'm holding it up. This is it. Wait, switch it around.
There she is. All right, we're holding it. We're done and we're holding it.
Saw the situationship I'm living in my house.
Oh my God. With all the equipment. I know. Let's do a tour. Look at how messy. Just
I know. There
it's like you only see this part of me and you're good, right? But you see the rest of this office. Oh, before we do this, do you guys want to see a fun sneak peek thing? So we have one happy moment with Tara ever in our life because we always have her on to talk about the saddest things.
Yeah.
So I have a new YouTube show that's starting in January. And look, I found like a mini Resolute desk.
Oh my God, it's so cool. Where did you find that?
For 7 doll hairs at the Goodwill. And then I got like new banners and stuff. So
You're so cool. Of course you would find something like that at the Goodwill.
It's Rochester,
probably walk
man.
Right past it. And
I know. It's Rochester, man. You can get all kinds of cool stuff here.
Can I show you who's right under the desk as I'm doing the news?
Look at that. Oh, it's a puppy. Hi, Dolly.
Yes, Pancetta.
Pancetta.
Always underneath me, trying to get me to pay more attention to her than what I'm talking about.
Did you name your dog Pancetta, you Jersey girl?
I didn't actually. She was, that was her name. And then when she walked up to me and I adopted her, I was like, are you joking? The dog's name is Pancetta Palmeri.
That's so cute.
We're meant to be. So.
Chetta. Do you call her Chetta or Panny?
Pancetta. Yeah. So I call her Pantula. I know that's or Panch. I know that's very bizarre, but she's my sidekick. I used to take her on reporting journeys when she was really little. Actually, I took her on part of the broken Jeffrey Epstein reporting journey with me because she was so little. I didn't want to leave her with someone.
What are her thoughts on Virginia Giuffre's book then? Because this has been a long journey for Pancetta as well.
Yeah, she's been seeking justice for a long time. Well, actually, Virginia met Pancetta, and I think she'd be really proud of her.
Yeah.
You know, they were both kind of like rescues.
Yeah.
If you read Virginia's book, I mean, it's a really beautiful book. And I think it really captures her essence. And I haven't gotten through all of it, but I know that it really shows you that she grew up into a situation that made her really vulnerable to be prey to someone like Ghislaine Maxwell. When so many people say, well, if you were abused, why don't you just get up and go straight to the police and tell them exactly what happened to you? And it's like, this girl was molested by her father.
From young, 6 or something age. I read. Yeah.
She was homeless by the time she was 14. She was trafficked as 11 years old. I mean, this is not a healthy situation. This is a girl who was broken, really. And when she was trying to really clean up her life at 16, she goes and works at Mar-a-Lago, gets a job as a masseuse, is reading a book about how to become a masseuse. And who comes along? Ghislaine Maxwell, always looking for the thing that these broken girls needed and promising it to them. And she said, I will teach you how to be a masseuse. You will have a wealthy man to be the client and you'll travel with him. And later that night, she shows up at his house and she is just met with more abuse. Virginia's life is heartbreaking. It's like she never got a break. She really never did. And then afterwards, her husband, she's landing into the arms of another man who abused her. I didn't know that at the time, and I don't think she wanted people to know that she struggled with it at home. But it's so obvious, the cycle of abuse that happens to people. It just doesn't end. Their boundaries aren't great. They think they're confused about
It's
what's safe.
normal to them. It's like
Mhm.
normal when you're accustomed to abuse and chaos. You're like, "Oh, it doesn't strike you as off because it's what you've known," and that's some of the hardest part of it. I haven't read the whole book yet, but something I really appreciate about her writing is no matter how much cruelty came upon this girl, and truly, I can't think of anyone who really lived such a cruel life in modern times that I can compare this to, but she still has so much kindness for strangers and for the people who are going to care about her story or to try and get justice, like breaking the fourth wall, saying, wow, that's a lot. Let's take a break. Like the way she writes the book is so thoughtful to the people that are reading it in a way that you don't typically get from an author where they speak to the audience in a way. And I just think
Yeah.
so,
She
so
she knows her
interesting.
trauma bucket is, like, not a bucket, it's a fucking swimming pool,
Yeah.
and, like, it's a lot for everyday people. I
Yeah.
mean, I always thought this, I was like, the best memoirs are often the ones where you can see yourself in the memoir, and I'm like,
Yeah.
how many people are gonna really be able to see themselves in this story because it is so dark.
So unusual.
I wasn't sure if it could ever really truly be scripted, her story, because it is so dark.
Yeah.
Uh,
And because there's no relief, oftentimes when we hear a terrible story about someone, well, they made it in the end, or something broke and they got like a redemption arc. That did not happen to her. The relief that she found, hopefully, was in death, but that was all very tragic too.
Yeah, it's so sad. I hope that she sees the justice though that's happening right now with Prince Andrew and the number of people who I'm sure are not going to sleep, going to bed, and thinking to themselves, when are people going to realize that I was the person that Virginia wrote about? There's so many more people, and I'm sad that the names aren't in the book, but I can imagine her publishers were nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, just skimming through it, like I've heard all of these stories from her directly from the time we spent together. And it's horrific. I'm glad that she actually spoke about the brutality of it.
Mhm. Well,
Um,
one of the parts she talks about, and for folks tuning in, this is going to be very difficult. So, but trigger warnings of the whole thing. If this ain't for you, watch it later when you're home or not at work or wherever. But one of the things she talked about is how brutally she was raped and beaten by a former minister, she called it, like a former UK minister.
Prime Minister, she said.
Prime minister, she said, but then, well, she said prime minister in the US version or something, but in this book, it goes back and forth between prime minister and minister, which means it could have been like an MP and not like, I don't know, but she doesn't name who it is, but I was like, well, maybe I could figure it out. Like maybe we could just see, are there any prime ministers or former politicians in the UK who had a history of it? And the list was too long to narrow down. Just in the time I was researching it, there were 3 MPs who were found to have raped their wives, beat their wives, had child abuse material on their phones and things. I was like, 3 already, and we're not even.
And we know these are ministers in the UK.
Yeah, so it's a Tory MP, Andrew Griffiths, was convicted of
No, no,
habitually
no.
raping and
She
beating
said
his
the
wife.
prime minister
She says
was a
it's a
British one.
UK minister. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So she says prime minister previously. This is the part that I think that The Guardian is also looking into this, because she said prime minister before, but as like an American, you don't really know the difference between MP or prime minister. Like you might say prime minister, but meant it was a politician
Well, I know
over
the
there.
one prime minister that she did tell
That
me
was
about.
definitely,
Yeah. And
yeah,
this was someone that she was really brutally attacked
yeah.
by, multiple times.
So the thing that was the thing about her story is that I'm trying to get to is like, even when you try to think, oh, there must just be one person out there, there's like 5 already that you're like, how could I even narrow this down? There's 5 of them that did this that you can't even. It's just, it's a lot, man.
Her book, it was interesting because Amy Wallace, who's the co-author of the book, said like this isn't about naming names,
Yeah.
and you know that was what I found from my time with her. And she actually wrote this in her book, which I thought was really beautiful about the people that we went to go see. She wrote about our journey together actually in her book, which was really amazing. And
Oh, good.
yeah, she said she liked that I didn't care about Jeffrey Epstein, that I only cared about the survivors. And like, because a lot of people are into the wealth porn part of it,
Right.
the porn part of it,
Yep.
or the spy porn part of it.
Hmm.
But I was like, no, this is not about that. This is about helping women find, like, put together the pieces of their lives. But when we tried to talk to Adam Perry Lang, who you and I have talked about a lot,
Yes,
uh,
chef.
she said about why she wants to talk to him. And she said, "Of course, I hope that he might have information that could help me hold Epstein's co-conspirators accountable. But also on a purely emotional level, I just wanted to hear Lang confirm my experience. He could have said something as simple as, 'I saw that happen to you because I was there.' And that would have helped me heal. Would I have been thrilled if he handed over incontrovertible evidence? Sure. But I wasn't really expecting that. Mostly I wanted validation.
Mm.
Clearly, though, I wasn't going to get it from Lang." And I think that's what people forget is that, like, for so many of these survivors, especially women who are attacked by very prominent, famous men who are celebrated,
Mhm.
they just want the community to say, "We see you, we hear you, we know this happened to you," because the denials and the attacks that come afterwards and the fact that the community doesn't stand with them, but rather to celebrate it, it's a re-traumatization, and it's
Yeah.
sometimes even worse than the abuse itself.
Mhm. He could have
And
very well said, "I saw what happened to you. I should have done something. I was afraid of him too. I'm really sorry." And that, like, just yeah, just anything. That's she wasn't looking for, like, reparations from everybody that was surrounding her. Just, yeah, like, this recognizing that what happened was wrong and she's not crazy, like
exactly. And that's why when we went to Juan Alessi's house, it really meant a lot to her. He was the house manager for 2 decades. It really meant a lot to her that he let her into the house
mm,
and was like, "Oh, yeah, I remember you, Virginia, like, this and that,"
mhm,
like, they were old colleagues, but then when she was like, "But you saw me naked and you paid me," he just wouldn't acknowledge that part.
couldn't handle that,
But
yeah.
he would say there were girls in the house and they were young and that he warned Epstein that he was gonna get in trouble, and that's why he lost his job.
Mm,
And so it's like so many like the mental gymnastics were crazy. The moral tightrope he created was
mm,
something I don't quite understand. I wrote about it in my Substack, which you guys can all read, and I wrote about that kind of scene because I'll never forget it in New York Magazine. It came out today, but just what it was like to even just see Virginia on the other side of the couch, just taking it all in and like her eyes lighting up, thinking that here's
mm,
somebody who's can confirm my story of horrific abuse, but he would only go so far.
yeah.
It was like he knew that there had to be boundaries or he was gonna get in trouble, and everyone's just covering for themselves.
Were there
So
other girls who have confirmed her story with her, like, people who were being abused at the same time that she was able to, like, have some camaraderie with or some sort of, like, community with to get through this?
oh, yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
other survivors have confirmed her story. I
Well,
mean,
of
they've been
course, yeah.
incredibly helpful for her in her case. Joanna Schoberg, she writes a lot about her.
Mm,
She didn't have problems finding women to corroborate her story. The problem she had was finding men, and that's why it was so valuable to get these employees of Jeffrey Epstein who had
right.
worked for him, who didn't pass her around like a party favor. These third parties to say, "Yeah,
Yeah.
this was wrong," and like the pilot who hung up on her mid sentence when we were outside of his house, like you know, flight logs. She was all over the flight logs.
Mhm.
And he could have been so helpful. So much of the depravity happened up in the air on the Lolita Express or his
Yeah.
private flight. And like, her body just like recoiled when we passed by the airport. So much of it, um, so many of these people could have helped. She really tried. And it takes a lot
Yeah.
of courage to knock on someone's door,
Sure.
beg for help. She was constantly reaching out. It makes me sad too because she writes in the book about like how hard it was for her. And I
Yeah.
saw just, like, this strength, like, this warrior. She's like, "Let's keep going, let's keep going." And I remember calling the producers too, being like, "I don't know if we should keep going.
Yeah.
This is emotionally exhausting for me,
Yeah.
for her. I can only imagine what it's like."
Yeah.
Um, and she wanted to keep going, but then she wrote in her book that she was calling her husband at night, like, really emotional from the whole thing. And maybe she wanted to stay strong for me, which is, like, totally makes me sad.
Yeah.
But we ended up like one of the producers came down, he taught we just decided to like cut it off. We just decided to stop.
Right.
We Juan though was the last person we spoke to, and I think it was just really hard for her. But she said to me when we were in the car on the way home, "I'm really happy," and I was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, he gave me 10%. He acknowledged me," and I was like, "Really? I'm furious at this guy.
Yeah.
Guy stood by, he drove you home sobbing." after the first time you were molested, he could recount the day he saw you outside of Mar-a-Lago with Ghislaine Maxwell when he was driving her around, and, like, that doesn't make you angry, but it took an emotional toll that she tried to keep to herself, and I think, like, it makes me furious when I see in comments, when I see online people pushing the fact that she was murdered. She killed herself. If you don't understand the impact of this type of sexual abuse on a person's mind, like, it actually changes the brain. Like,
Right.
it alters your mind, especially when you're young.
Sure.
And repeated trauma, like she went through since she was a child.
Right.
Um, if you don't get how that would cause demons and nightmares and mental health issues for the rest of your life, like,
Right.
what?
Right. Yeah. And she was, as we found out later, still in an abusive relationship, even at the end, with
I
her
mean,
husband.
the 60 Minutes story from Australia is really painful. She accused him of breaking her sternum. That's a hard bone to break.
Wasn't she also in a car accident a couple weeks before her death? So she said she was in a car accident a couple weeks
Yeah, but
before.
her kidneys weren't really working well, and I even remember when we were together that she had some sort of, like, urinary tract infection,
Those
and not
problems.
too, like, explicit, but we had to stop to and go to a doctor for her, and
Yeah.
it's just not it makes sense, it's like that's the part of the body, like, near the sexual organs,
It's
and
damaged. Yeah.
yeah, and she thought she'd never be able to have children because
Yeah.
she miscarried, she doesn't know what happened when she ended up in the hospital.
Mm,
Epstein and Glenn took her there, like, did she have to get an abortion?
we
You
don't
know,
know. Yeah.
we don't know, and she doesn't know, but she really believes she'd never have children
Yeah.
because of the brutality that she went to through her in her organs, and, like, that's what she was told.
Mm.
Could you imagine?
Meanwhile, your abuser is trying to get you to be a surrogate for him and Ghislaine. Like, if just the weirdest shit. This I don't know how you have done this, covered this for so as many years as you have, had the friendship that you had with Virginia, and continue to, as you say, like this drip, drip, drip comes out. It's like the ghosts that you carry also, and now are, I'm sorry, but like kind of responsible for, like you, Julie K. Brown, Amy Wallace, Virginia or Victoria Ward. It's like holding this legacy. What is that like?
I don't know that it's like, thank you for saying that. I don't know that I have any, like, I'm proud to tell the story for them, but, like, it's not my story, it's
Not
theirs.
that it's your story, but that you're
Yeah,
able to bring it
yeah.
to the people, like be an amplifier for them and a fighter.
It's interesting because, like, I wrote a piece during the Biden years about it and a magazine piece, and it took me like 5 or 6 months to get it published, and, like, there just stopped being a lot of interest in Jeffrey Epstein stories. I did 2 podcasts on it, and then the Pam Bondi stuff that happened in
Mm,
Dubai, it just reignited the case, but even before that, like, 1 week before, I went on the Daily Beast show with Joanna Coles, and she's, like, asking me, and somehow we ended up in Epstein, and she's like, "Wow, you know a lot about that. Like, why wouldn't you just write about Jeffrey Epstein all the time?" And I was like, "Well, it's really dark. It's really, really dark." And, um, but I think I have, like, more of a mission in the sense that it feels really like there's, like, a lot of corruption going on. The fact that they're saying there's nothing more there, and I know that there is.
yeah,
And the public cares again,
yeah,
and they're driving this. Their interest drives it. It's not just me.
hmm
Um, and I I feel like this is what Virginia would have wanted. I mean, I spoke to her in February, and I went on TV to, like, speak for her at one point,
yeah,
during the Pam Bondi circus around the classified documents, because those were just her documents, her
right.
depositions, and they slapped the words classified on them, and that she was like, "This is a circus." She thought President Trump was gonna actually release the Epstein files like he promised. She was so hopeful.
Well, there were a lot of people who, even testified on the Hill, and they were like, I voted for Trump because he promised he would release the Epstein files, or I believed that the
Yeah.
Republicans were the ones who seemed to be the most interested in this. This has got to be just killer, killer.
Yeah, and so, um, that was that was definitely, it was definitely, like, hard for her, I think, to lose that hope.
Yeah,
She was not happy when I saw her. I mean, when I spoke to her, she was very, very depressed, and I actually said, "You should go see your family." I was like, you need to come to the US, like, come to New York. I said, like, go to Colorado, spend time with your family. You can't be out in this ranch by yourself. I mean, she had a helper because her health was so bad. She needed someone to help her. Her health was just really failing. I don't think people really quite understand that. The body keeps the score.
Yeah, yeah.
She had probably like the body of an 80-year-old woman in a 40-year-old body.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah,
Mhm.
I just feel like I'm sad that this is all coming out and
Mhm.
wouldn't be alive to see the impact because for once, like, that was the other part of the book that really made me sad was, like, she said, like, "I'm really tired from telling my story over and over again." Like, it's a
Mhm.
re-traumatization, and there's a part of me that wishes that, like, she didn't have to. But at
Right.
the same time, she said, like, "But for so many years, I told my story, and people didn't believe me and listen, and finally, there were people that were like, 'Yeah, Virginia, we hear you. We see you.' And they're journalists, and they're the world." And she felt like, "Well, finally, people are listening to me, so I don't wanna stop. What if they
Right.
stop? What if it goes back to the way it was before?" When
Right.
everyone was calling me a teen prostitute and a liar.
Yeah.
So she wanted to keep going, and she did it because she believed victims refuse silence. That was the name of her nonprofit. But she pushed herself too hard.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, she pushed herself too hard. But I think if you read this book, you're gonna see her essence. You really will. You'll see how hopeful and wonderful she was. Her eyes so bright and wide, and how she really looked out to everyone and saw beauty where I saw so much darkness when I was doing that story with her. Like, she believed in the blue butterfly. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but she loved the blue butterfly, and we took a picture in front of one of them on our journey. And it was randomly like graffitied onto the wall. And I don't know, I just felt like it was such a how do people who have been through so much, like, you hear of these stories of people who were in concentration camps
Yeah.
and they still live lives
They
of
wrote music in
yeah,
there. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
they can still see beauty, and I just felt profound sadness, like, I felt like she was keeping me together. I
Yeah.
remember one time she starts playing, like, Let It Go in the car while we were driving because I was just, like from that Frozen movie, because I was like, "This
You
is
were not.
horrible."
Yeah. It
I'm
is.
like and I'm like, "I'm failing everybody too. I'm failing her. I'm failing the team in New York. I'm failing everybody. This is horrible. These people are terrible. No one
Mhm.
there are no better angels in this world. Like, what is
Yeah.
going on here?" And she's just like, "Let me play a Disney song. It'll help you get through it." And I was like, "God, to have that relentless optimism," but it wasn't all the time. And, like, I think, you know, that's something people forget is that you cannot keep that up forever. Like, this is not
It
the
takes
demons
a piece of
still
you.
come back. They really
Mhm.
do. And, I think I also think for, again, all the people who say, "Why did she go back? Why did she go back?" You'll see she actually wanted Epstein's love.
Yeah.
And the moments when Ghislaine Maxwell was sweet to her and treated her like
Like a
a mother
daughter.
figure, like a daughter, going and helping picking seashells with her. You have to understand her own mother, after her mother thought that she was being sexually abused by her father, started whipping her with like thorned, um, with thorns. So it's like, this was someone who was so abused
Right.
and she just needed love. Like, that was all she needed. And she looked for it wherever she could get it. And I don't think she understood the boundaries of like who was the right person to give it to her and who wasn't. She
Well,
just
how could you when the promise that your parents make you is that they'll love you and keep you safe, and that promise was broken from day one? So Jeffrey Epstein promised to make her a massage therapist. Why give up on that yet? I mean, maybe it will like, if you don't, it's understandable that she would have some sort of, because like you've written about this before, it wasn't all bad all the time, even though it was all bad all the time. There were times in which she met people that she liked to talk to, or Adam Perry Lang would make her a little sandwich or something, or she felt camaraderie with the other workers, or even in the worst possible situations, there are little pockets of joy. And
Mhm.
those moments, if that's all you know, is like, well, it wasn't, sometimes it was good, or sometimes they were nice to me. Like G Max treated, collected seashells with me. I can't believe they made reading that Ghislaine Maxwell made the girls call her G Max.
It's like T-Pain.
What a fucking cringe weird thing to do. Like,
It's like G-Spot. I don't know.
yeah,
Something dirty.
G-Max, like, oh, like so cool, like so
No.
hip, like
Here I was going to like a dark sexual place, but yeah, no. She's a sicko.
she is. Do you think that this book prevents her from getting a pardon or a commutation of sentence more? Do you think that this sort of helps not? Or do you think that Trump doesn't care and might do it anyway?
I think Trump doesn't care,
He
but
doesn't. Yeah. I know we're talking about Diddy maybe this week getting a pardon.
I
So,
know. But this book, if it becomes the bestseller, which I know it will be,
mm,
and it's read, like, and people really understand who Virginia is, because it's like to know her is impossible not to really
right.
love her. She's an incredibly charismatic person. Um, and if they don't see it through the eyes of a girl and understand, like, even just looking at the pictures of her, I mean, she's 16, 17 when she was with them. She looks incredibly young.
Mm,
They liked that she was thin and looked
yeah.
like a child, had no breasts, had no
Yeah.
curves. Like, that was what Jeffrey Epstein wanted. You know what I found really profound? She actually said she assumed that maybe Jeffrey Epstein was molested himself as a child,
Oh,
and, like,
maybe.
and she almost thought,
She had
like,
like sympathy for him?
yeah,
Wow.
isn't that crazy? I mean, not crazy, but it's like the capacity for her ability to, like, to forgive in a way, or to find, or at least to be empathetic. I think that this book will move people on this subject even more in the favor of the survivors, and will demand more justice, and will make people, it will make it more despicable that the vote has not been held to, you
Just
know,
the effort to block this right now is
yeah, to get that discharge petition on the floor,
mhm,
or that to pass the discharge petition, which would put the vote on the floor. I
mhm,
think more people will be angry. Why is it that only in the UK two people have lost their jobs because of their connections to Epstein so far?
right.
Mandelson, the UK ambassador,
Yeah, and Prince Andrew.
right? I mean, sure, there are some bankers that have gone down in disgrace, but it's not
A
quite
lot of these people died never being caught either. These were old people doing this. Do
who
you
had
think
bad reputations too.
yeah,
Anyway,
do you think, like, how old are her children right now? Do you think, like, folks are asking, are her kids okay now? Like, is there a beneficiary? Will her children
yeah,
benefit
no,
from
her
this book? Like, are they safe?
children, yeah, her children are going to be okay. I think there's more of a concern about her estranged husband Robbie and how much money he'll get from the estate, because
Oh,
obviously, since he caused her so much pain, the family does not want him to be a beneficiary of the estate. They just want all the money to go to the children.
right.
And so that's important. She had three of them, a little girl. Well, she's now 12, I think, or 13. So,
Okay.
and, they were her world. And I think being
Yeah.
separated from them was really, really, really hard for her.
Mm. Yeah, you
Uh,
can't be alone like that with your thoughts and all
yeah.
of this darkness and
They were,
unknownness.
I mean, that was how she got the courage to say something, was like when she saw her daughter and she thought, my God, I have to protect little girls like this, because she didn't look in the mirror and see herself as someone worthy of protection.
Mm,
None of these girls really did. That was the one thing I kept seeing over and over again. Like, they never saw themselves as people worthy of protection because, like you said, they weren't protected by the people that were supposed to, their parents, right?
yeah.
So they were just like, this is how you're treated in the world. And then they finally got the courage to come forward and tell their stories when they started to read the stories of their friends. And actually, one of the prosecutors, Marie Villafania, who was the lead prosecutor under Alex Acosta, she understood that. And she
Mm,
put the deposition of one of Jane Doe one's friend on her desk. I mean, on her doorstep, excuse me, of Jane Doe one, just to show her, like, this is what your friend said happened to her. And that's when she woke up and said, "You know what? I'm gonna speak to the prosecutor," because she was avoiding the prosecutor, because Epstein told her she was a teenage prostitute and that she was the one who was in trouble when the police were coming for her, or the FBI agents, and that she needed a lawyer and that Epstein would pay for her lawyer. And then when she saw that, she opened up the phone book and she found a lawyer for herself,
yeah.
not Epstein's lawyer.
He just like the perfect predator that he was, and knowing like so well how to fuck up all these people is insane.
Yeah.
Um, we talked this week about Walter Cronkite being on one of the flight manifests. He would have been 90, almost 91 years old when that happened. And also on that flight was Epstein's Russian bodyguard and Larry, one of the chefs.
Was it Igor
Lance.
Zinoviev?
Igor was on this, yeah. And Lance or Larry, one of the not I don't know.
Larry Vysotsky or
Larry C. something. He was the chef. He was one of his private chefs and someone else. And JP was the other one. I was like, JP Morgan. But no, JP Morgan died in 1913. But this is
John
where my...
Paulson or something?
Could be, but it just said JP and then Walter
He was
Cronkite.
friends with John Paulson.
Could have been. But people were like, Walter Cronkite was on the Lolita Express. And I'm like, maybe not. Maybe somebody wrote Walter Cronkite as the name. Maybe it was his son. Maybe it wasn't.
Do that on a flight manifest.
You can't. So then I'm like, I don't know. He was, Walter Cronkite used to date this famous soprano who was very involved with Juilliard and Epstein. So it's like, could have been just one of the normies that got caught up in helping. Because there's so many people who were like normie people that Epstein was around that made it seem like all the dark stuff he was doing was normal. Like P. Diddy's white parties. People who were there during the day but left at 9, knew something happened after 9, should have talked about it but weren't there for it. Like, I do wonder what a 90-year-old Walter Cronkite was doing on the Lolita Express. Like, why a terminally ill elderly man was on this flight. But
I don't have any reporting, but that is...
I know. He had never been
pictured
with him before. He had never been an investor of his before. He was dating the heiress to Simon & Schuster. Simon & Schuster's CEO was involved with Epstein. So as far as I've got it so far, I'm like, look, I've just got a bunch of conspiracies, and maybe this is the way he came to be on this flight, but I don't know that he did anything or knew what he was doing. But he certainly would have known, and it was 2007, so I guess it was before the first arrest. But
yeah,
he was notorious in New York City by that point, though. That's the thing. The first arrest came in 2008. People knew this guy was a creep from the 90s on.
Yeah. And what year was Walter Cronkite on the Walter Cronkite?
2007.
Okay. So right before he went to prison.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. It was hard.
Also,
when you get on that flight, if you ever saw the stewardesses, they were like barely clothed. Yeah, you should look that up. It was called the Lolita Express. He was proud of his lifestyle. He bragged about it.
Yeah. Just nutso stuff.
I think people forget that when you become a really famous news anchor, you kind of lose touch with the rest of
reality.
Yeah.
Well, and CBS is in a weird spot now. So, I mean, I don't know. Don't meet your heroes, maybe. We'll see. I had to change my Substack bio because the New York Times once called me the Walter Cronkite of Gen Z. And I was like, oh, we got to take that out now. There's none of that now. That might not mean the same thing.
I'm sorry. Because no one is,
No, first of all, I was like, that's a crazy thing to say about a person. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
What you've done is amazing. I'm so in awe.
Dude, please. I just started talking to people because I felt like they were being talked to bad. What you've done is amazing. Everybody's doing amazing shit. Nobody needs to be the male version of like what it is now to be what they are. I'm just the V Spehar of V Spehars. You're just the Tara Palmeri of Tara Palmeris. None of us are the Walter Cronkite of anything. Goofs. Oh, man. Tara, what are we going to do? Like, what are we going to do? Your audio is out now.
Oh, no.
There you go.
I'm back. Sorry
She's
about
back.
that.
You're going to have to, your arms are going to be shaking at the end of this from holding up this phone.
I know. I'm sorry to everyone. I hope I'm not making you all nauseous with my
Blair Witch Project filming.
I know. I don't have the steadiest of hands. V, what's on your mind otherwise?
I'm actually, to get off of like American politics for a moment, I've had a lot of interest in collabs from the EU, and that is like cool. And also, I think telling of where we're at with the American media right now, and the fact that like the Italian embassy, the French embassy, the EU, Brussels government, the country of Armenia are all reaching out to American content creators to try and tell their story. And in particular, try to raise like
Yeah.
to try and like make folks understand the importance of Ukraine and defending Ukraine. And I think that that's really interesting. So I'm going to Brussels in Italy at the end of November, Brussels to talk about EU and Ukraine stuff, and Italy to we're trying to do a thing to show like, look, the Italian government has separation of church and state, and the Vatican's all up in there. Why is that important to Italy? Why is that important to democracies? And what can America learn from Italy recovering from fascism and not being too buddy-buddy with the Vatican? And both the Pope and Giorgia Meloni are apparently going to make a comment. So we'll see.
That's exciting.
We'll see. I am
You know, I
Catholic.
used to
We
cover
talked
the
about this.
EU.
We have the Catholic thing. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah. You know, I used to cover the EU. I was
Yeah,
based in Brussels for 2 years.
you should
The
come.
journal
I'm going to be like, bring Tara with us. She
Yeah,
knows what's
text
up.
email them, say, "Bring Tara Palmeri." They probably remember me because I
Yeah,
moved there with Politico Europe. It was like a big thing when they
come
when
back.
they started that. I think you'd be
Shira
really great
Lazar
for
is
them.
coming.
Who's going?
Shira Lazar.
Oh, cool. You would be so helpful for
Girls trip.
them in terms of understanding communication. I always felt like they struggled with communication, and I used to
Well,
say
they're
this.
kind of sarcastic. And I'm like, American audiences don't understand like sarcasm or like they're kind of like neggy about stuff.
Oh, yeah, they're European, so
Yeah.
they always have they're not like us, eternally optimistic.
No, they're very begrudging. They're like, oh, okay, well, what do you want me to do? I'm like, what do you want me to do? You invited me here.
It's the old way. It's the old way. We're the ones who are we're disruptors. I always felt that way when I was in Europe, and maybe it was because I came from
Yeah.
a brand like Politico.
Yeah.
People were like, "Oh, they're the disruptors." And I
Yeah.
was also sort
So
of like, the old way's not really working if you've got Brexit going on right now.
well, that's the thing
Yeah,
is they're like I think they really because they've said to me, like the ambassador from EU and the Ukrainian ambassador have both said like obviously this idea of like traditional diplomacy and like elder people diplomacy is not working. This is not
no.
working. Like we're not getting the message across. The ambassador's not speaking to the public in the way that we used to kind of like, the ambassador speaking to the politicians was okay and then it would trickle down. She's like, I need to speak directly to the American public because they're not being a good sort of like that it's not working. Like this diplomacy is not working. And I was like, for real, man. So
When I was there, they were just handing out communique, just pieces of paper,
yeah.
and everything was written almost like in a French translation. So it was like
Hmm.
everything kind of TOIATON. It was
Yep.
like, and there was never really anything except like a promise to do something, to eventually do something. And it was
It's a lot of
all
tea parties and
complicated.
martinis. Yeah. I was like, y'all, I
Oh,
don't know.
you should have a grand old time.
We'll see.
You should have fun.
I get scared at everything.
If
So
you're
we'll see.
if you're looking for some fun in Brussels, I'll connect you with some friends there.
Well, I'm going to make you come on the trip. So then
Oh
that'll
yeah,
be
ask
easy.
them. I'll come. I'm happy to
It's
come
literally
myself.
November 30th to December 6th. You could swing it. That's like a week.
I'm moving that day. Next time though,
We'll
for
figure it
sure.
out. But
I
I'll
know.
loop you in with them because I think it's a good thing they're doing, and I'm very concerned about what's going on in Ukraine, and in particular with Trump's temperament when it comes to foreign policy. Like, okay, so this is my book on my desk right now. Um, Kicking the Hornet's Nest: U.S. Foreign Policy in the Middle East from Truman to Trump, because I felt like I needed to get like more info on it. Trump's mentality and his temperament is that he wants to keep saying he solves all these wars. And so, like, to hear that he was screaming at Zelensky and being like, just take the deal, it's because he's a short term thinker and he
Yeah.
just wants to have a win and he just wants this to be over. And he feels the pressure of folks saying, well, you said you were going to do it day one. Guess you couldn't do it, Mr. Art of the Deal. And it's about him and his ego and not about what's right for the world. And that panics me. That panics me about his,
You're saying to give Trump some space.
no, I'm saying, I'm saying Trump should just back Ukraine, send the damn tomahawks, and be done. Stop trying to be besties with Putin, my guy. Like, what is wrong with you? It's never going to work out. He's never going to love you.
They're just
I know, but he's got Poland. Poland's got a conservative prime minister or whatever they got over there now. Like,
Duda. Is it Duda?
yeah, and he's like, trying to. They're like fluffing Trump in all these different ways, so he thinks he's cool with all the EU. And I'm like, brother, they are just trying to not get in your crosshairs, and you're
Poles
weird.
always know they have to play the American president. They don't want to be Ukraine next.
Well, right, and that's what's, like, coming up on, so I think he's trying to be, like, too buddy with Trump, but you gotta kinda, like, egg him towards, like, "Hey, let's Ukraine is the dam before Europe, and I don't think we wanna play this game again," but I really do think when Trump came into office, he thought, like, him, Russia, China, and like Hungary were going to somehow be like the new Axis. He doesn't live in a real world. Also, all of this AI slop shit he's doing, he's not making those chat GPT requests like Stephen Chung is, or like
The AI slop shit.
You know what I mean? They're just sending it to him and he's like, oh yeah, post. That's cool. Like, because all attention is good attention to a narcissist.
Could you imagine how he looks at executive orders?
He doesn't. Remember when Tulsi Gabbard was saying that she needed to figure out how to like do a community theater performance to give him briefings because he doesn't read? And then she kind of got dragged in the news for a while because folks were like, what do you mean? She was like trying to think of how she could make like a TikTok to give him the briefing because he doesn't read.
It was a Fox News segment too.
Yeah, like how to make a Fox News segment to give him a briefing.
I remember when I was at ABC, I reported that the former NSC McMaster wanted to get Trump to send over anti-tank missiles to Ukraine, which even Obama would not send them because he saw that as a provocation towards Russia.
Sure.
So he slipped it in his desk over Christmas, and Trump was like, signed. Sure. So he didn't even know that he had signed off on this, like, what was considered a provocation, but
I don't think he knows anything that's going on truly, and now he's building this ballroom.
Like, he doesn't really know what was in the big, beautiful bill, and that's why they're dealing with these Obamacare subsidies right now. He just didn't really care about the detail. He was like, so how do we package it? BBB? He's all about marketing. The details and the details, but
it's like a reality show, so. What's something good you're thinking about or something else you're thinking about?
A long nap.
I know you've been on all the shows and having to talk about all the things.
Yeah, I'm excited to sleep at some point in my life. It'll be really great. No, what am I looking forward to? Halloween. I haven't even found a costume, but
Are you going to dress up? Are you a costume person? What are you going to be?
No, I'm not, but I'm embracing it this year.
Do it. We need whimsy and absurdity this year.
Yeah, I need to have a little fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're doing Wizard of Oz in my family. So my sister's being the Scarecrow. My brother-in-law's being the Cowardly Lion. My niece is Dorothy. I am going to be Glinda, obviously the Good Witch of the North, because I live in the North. My wife will probably be Elphaba. Everybody has a piece.
I love this.
My nephew is the Tin Man, which is cute because he was born with a little heart defect, so he's the Tin Man because he's so cute.
Guys, send me a message on what I should be because I haven't thought about it and I don't have the brain capacity.
I know. Do you want to be something fun and political, or do you want to be something just like classic Halloween?
I don't know, because like I feel like no matter if you do whatever you do political, somehow it like comes back to bite you, and they're like,
yeah. The only good costume ever was the Hanging Chad. That was the only good political costume.
I know.
What could you be? Yeah, you don't want to be like Melania or something. Like that's not going to play. It's not going to be fun.
No one will get it. They'll just be like, really?
Be something classic. Be like 1950s Monster Mash something, or like something fun, Like Bride of Frankenstein is like real fun, or like Marie Antoinette or something. I don't know. I'm all for stuff that has big hair and costumes and stuff. Yeah. But you have to decide if you want to be pretty Halloween or scary Halloween, or pretty scary.
I'll be scary.
Scary Halloween. Yeah. Do it.
Feeling scary. I'm like having the best time. I know. We have to do this more.
We will.
It's funny because I see like I'll get comments people really love. Well, they obviously love your show, but this is they love the PR.
We have fun. Yes. We need fun and whimsy and absurdity. We'll have you on the new show. We'll see what's happening.
I would love it. And
the new show's going to be more civics and history, not political chit chat show, because like me and Sammy said, doing the political chit chat show, it's too much of a drain and it moves too quick. And we didn't think it was like serving the public interest to keep doing it really.
Really? Because I am obsessed with your videos.
We loved it, but we were like,
you wanted
to do this other thing that helps people like get more. I do think the pendulum's going to swing away from anti-intellectualism, and I want our people to be ready when that happens and have like a basis of knowledge that has either escaped us because we haven't been in school for so long, or school is not teaching proper civic history. And so I think there's a lot to be curious about with America and the way we'll rebuild it after this regime. And so we wanted to kind of like spend more time in those worlds.
You two are so smart. You're just like two nerds. I just got
We are.
And
nerds and best friends. But then we do, then you could do a Substack Live and just chit chat whenever you want, man. So you're like, all right, we'll do that.
I'll take a civic course every day. I never had to take.
Yeah. But the show is fun because it's shit like, okay, let's explore the problems with the fertility industry. But the first episode is about sperm racing.
Love it.
This new sport that men have come up with called sperm racing that deals with motility.
People stop blaming women for infertility.
It's men's fault. And these boys are like, hey, look, yeah, we're doing sperm racing because we think it brings attention to this. But like in actuality, male motility is an issue. And here's the ways that you could fix it, bro. And I'm like, good job, boys.
You guys should be freezing your sperm just like we have to go and freeze our eggs.
Right?
Yeah.
All that. Freeze it.
Put it on ice.
Put it on ice. Keep it to yourself. Whatever you need to do. Being in the sperm racing world has been something as a lesbian I did not anticipate I would get into. But now that I know a lot about it and will be attending a sperm race in Las Vegas, I feel like the new show is going to help people in a different way.
I feel civically informed. I didn't even know sperm races were a thing. So here I am living in the dark ages.
I'm here to tell you what the kids are up to. All right, Tara, go get some sleep and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Yeah. That was another episode of the Tara Palmeri Show. Thank you again for tuning in. Please rate, subscribe, share this with your friends. If you like my reporting, please go to tarapalmeri.com. That's TARAPALMERI.com with just one I, and sign up for the red letter. It's how you get my exclusive reporting straight to your inbox. And it's how you can support my independent journalism. No billionaires involved here. No establishment propping me up. This is just me doing independent journalism, following the leads when they come. I want to thank my producer, Eric Abinate. I want to thank Abby Baker, who does research and social media. And I want to thank Adam Stewart, who does my graphics. See you again tomorrow.